housing project, but it was like a big post-war housing estate with a single mom and a deadbeat dad in a neighborhood which was mostly Jamaican and with a nice mix of National Front, white power, skinhead types. So I had sort of this childhood of going to see like dub sound systems and going to like hip hop parties, but then also not being able to go to a certain school because I came home saying the word nigger one day. So I grew up like in a completely different environment, I think, than most people that are on this wall. I grew up like not having the access to rock music, really. It wasn't in my world. And one day, my mom is American, and my grandparents got me a subscription to a teen magazine called Sassy, which was like it doesn't exist anymore, but it was like kind of really cheesy, like they'd have stupid things about how to dress like a surfer rather than how to surf. Which I really hate about girl culture in general. It's like how to look the part, just what I want. But so anyways, they had an article about Bikini Kill, and I knew about punk because I remember there being some anniversary of like Sex Pistols. So there was a lot of stuff in the English press about like how historic 77 was, and of course it was just like the Sex Pistols and the Clash, and you know the Slits. No, not there. X-Ray Specs. Who? You know. So I was like getting into punk through that media, like seeing the Sex Pistols on TV all the time, and like I wanted that. It was so different from my childhood and from what I knew. It's like I wanted that like kind of complete, like, I don't know, like making your own life idea that I think is basically what punk is. And seeing Bikini Kill changed my life. You know, I wrote to them and I got their fanzines. It was before, I think, the insane deluge of like 60 million teenage girls sending off something that someone intended for an audience of 50. But I got like a Jigsaw fanzine, and I got like some Riot Girl zines, and the girls from Bratmobile did a fanzine, and I really wanted to have that in my town in London. So I made two of the girls that I grew up with start a band and do a fanzine, but we didn't really know how to do a fanzine. So like my first fanzines were basically just collages with cutouts, and yeah, see, that's one of them. It was kind of mostly about, like, I was into skateboarding. I think there's a lot of like, well, this one actually has more writing. I think this is when I kind of knew more what I was doing. But my early ones were literally just pictures, because I didn't really know how to put a zine together, because I was like 13, I think. And then Huggy Bear happened. And the best thing about this time was that you could write a letter. Like you were saying, you know, you could write someone and they would read your letter and they would send you a tape. Yeah. You know, and people like I was 13 years old and I didn't know anything, and they'd make me these tapes with like the wipers and raincoats and all these sort of like punk bands that kind of shape how I see music and how I see the world now. And then they'd also, like, Huggy Bear did this thing where they'd trade letters. So like if like a girl in Wales wrote and a girl in London wrote them, they'd like give them the addresses. So you'd end up having this kind of secret network of girls all across the country. And like I got into Riot Girl in, I think, 92. And it was when the media was still being used as a communication tool. And it was really important because I don't think that I would have, if my exposure to punk had been like seeing hardcore bands, I don't think I would have stuck around. like having the prism of like feminist, like playful feminist, like fuck you bands, like Huggy Bear and Bikini Kill and Bratmobile. Having that as a way to look at this culture, like, changed it for me, and I saw it as a place that I could exist in, rather than as, like, a place with a bunch of, like, angry white guys that I have to, like, fight my way through, you know? And because punk culture in England isn't the same as it was here, because initially there was a huge underground DIY subculture in the early days of punk in the 70s and early 80s, but then dance culture took that energy, and so the kind of underground culture was rave culture, you know. It was sort of like in warehouses and fields, and it was free, and you didn't have to like send off for a 7-inch or like pay £5 to get into a show. It was like this kind of that idea of making your own culture, making your own sound, but like I wasn't interested in that at all. And I mean, the punk culture that existed in England on that small DIY level was really small. It wasn't as widespread as it is here. And so we kind of had to, like, figure out how to fit in to that culture, which was very, like, hardcore. And to a certain extent, I think a lot of the Riot girls were seen as interlopers and people that, like, just wanted to wear, like, Hello Kitty, like, t-shirts or something and look cute and, like, yell at the guys for reasons the guys just didn't get, you know? And,